Yes, it's finally time for my playthrough of Persona 5 Royal. To many, this game needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give it one because I did the same for the other Persona games I played on the channel. Persona 5's early development began right after Persona 4 was released in 2008, but it wasn't really seriously being worked on until 2011, after Catherine, which seems to be a testing ground for what a modern Persona game's engine might look like. According to the game's director Katsura Hashino, the theme was originally supposed to be backpacking across the world, and there are still some remnants of that in the final game. But then the 2011 earthquake and Fukushima nuclear plant disaster hit Japan, which prompted the development team to radically overhaul the game's planned themes, to focus more on Japanese society. In 2013, we would get this extremely vague teaser, along with shots of a perfectly ordinary high school protagonist taking the train to school in totally normal Tokyo. The game would go under the radar until February 2015, where Atlus promised a concert ominously titled Night of the Phantom, focusing on Persona 3 and 4 music and being a celebration of the series, except that a mysterious phantom had stolen some of the reveals, and he promised to appear at the end of the concert and steal everyone's hearts. And then this trailer happened. I was there when this trailer dropped. In fact, while looking it up in making this video, I actually found my original comments from its release day. Wow, these are funny to look back on. Being there, I saw just how much the fanbase freaked out on this reveal. Nobody saw this oh great, the meme song's gonna play, isn't it? But you know what, meme song? You're actually right this time. Of course, my reaction at the time was, oh my god, they combined Persona with Sly Cooper? This is gonna be the best thing ever! Seriously, are there any other people who grew up with the Sly series who are into Persona 5? If so, I'd really appreciate knowing. Anyway, several delays later, and the game finally released in Japan in mid-2016, and in the West in April 2017. And well, while Persona 4 was the game that put Atlus on the map when it came to JRPG fans, this game actually launched Atlus and the series into the mainstream. In 2019 in Japan and 2020 in the West, it got an updated re-release, Persona 5 Royal, exclusively for PS4, and that's the version that I'll be playing. The main thing Royal adds is an entirely new month of gameplay with its own dungeon and party member, along with two new confidants, Counselor and Faith, while also revamping the Justice Confidant so radically, it may as well also be a brand new confidant. What are confidants? Well, the Persona series is half a turn-based dungeon crawler and half a social sim, and the confidants form the social sim aspect. They're optional subplots with NPCs that give a lot of character development and form the bulk of non-battle gameplay. This playthrough will be a max confidants run, which means I'll be going for completing all of them within a single playthrough, as I have for Persona 3 and 4 on this channel. But don't worry if you haven't watched either of those series, every Persona game from 3 onwards is entirely a self-contained story, so you can play or watch them in any order. But for those who are aware of my earlier series, here is where things diverge a little bit. In Persona 3, a max social links run was borderline impossible without a guide, and in Persona 4, a guide was still heavily recommended. I will still be following a guide for my Persona 5 playthrough. However, I will be following it much more loosely and will be going off script at many occasions. You really don't need to follow a guide to the letter to max out all confidants in Persona 5. The game itself gives you more than enough time and resources to do this, and one feature that I especially appreciate is the in-game map actually tells you every Confidant that is available on each day, where they are, and whether or not they'll rank up. So all the information you need to plan your daily schedule is right there in the game. That said, the guide that I will be loosely following is the ACE, or All Confidant Events Guide on Game FAQs. This one is a little slow to rank up a lot of the Confidants, and that might be a big deal because in Persona 5, Confidants give unique gameplay benefits in addition to helping you with Persona Fusion. But there are two reasons why I've chosen this guide. The first is, true to its name, it doesn't just max out all the Confidants, but it also shows all of their optional side events, such as hangouts in the city, or just coming over to your room to study for exams. While these aren't strictly necessary to max out the Confidants, they all have unique dialogue, and I love to show every single moment that these characters get. The second reason is that the ACE guide never requires you to reload for social stat increases. In order to max out all the Confidants in Persona 5, you'll also need to max out all the protagonists' social stats, because some rank ups or even entire Confidants are gated off based on these stats. A lot of daily activities that raise social stats have a random chance of giving a higher increase, and many guides require you to save and reload until you get these, and the chances are very low early in the game. So this is a major appeal of the ACE guide to me. It means that I don't have to get any random bonuses, but any I do get are beneficial, and I might even be able to get ahead of the guide if I do get lucky. One other bit of good news about social stats is that unlike Persona 4, dialogue choices are never locked out based on them in this game. None of that, you don't have enough courage to say that here. Thank you, Atlas. So I've laid down the main goal of the playthrough, and by extension a second one. Max out all Confidants and also max out all social stats. So what else am I gonna be achieving in the playthrough? Persona 5 is a very big game, and it's impossible to see everything it has to offer in one playthrough. But I'm just gonna say I'm gonna try and show as much as I can. What this means is I will be going for all the trophies, although Royal changed the trophies significantly from the original game, and getting Platinum is now very easy. Most of the harder trophies will move to something called Thieves' Den Awards. I'll be covering those once we unlock the Thieves' Den, but I will say that I am not going to be able to completely max out the Thieves' Den because that's not possible without a New Game Plus. I will be trying to get as many Thieves' Den Awards as I can on my initial playthrough, but I won't make any promises about getting all of them. That said, however, I have already recorded footage from a New Game Plus run I prepared earlier where I did max out the Thieves' Den, so we are going to be seeing the 100% reward for it. I've already recorded it, in fact. As a side effect of the All Confidant Events Guide, I'm also going to be going for almost all room decorations. These are collectibles that there's no trophy or Thieves' Den achievement for, but I still like going for them every chance I can. I did say almost all though. Sadly, one room decoration is exclusive to a romantic Confidant route that I will not be taking. And with that I segue into romances. 10 of this game's Confidants, 9 in the vanilla version, have the option of a romantic relationship. In Persona 5, this consistently occurs at rank 9. You are free to date as many or as few girls as you want, but I personally am gonna go for only romancing one Confidant. My personal favourite ship for the main character, Joker. And before you ask, it's actually not the new romance introduced in Royal. Shipping arguments on this game can get pretty intense, but I'll just say that the option I'm going with is entirely my personal preference, and I actually love almost every romance option in this game, so there is no love lost to any of you if you prefer other pairings. In that New Game Plus file I prepared earlier, I've recorded every romantic route that I won't be taking in the main playthrough, along with every optional romance event for each of those Confidants. All of those will be released as bonus footage eventually. Something I'll say though is, I really love showing off the platonic roots in Persona games because they don't get a lot of documentation online, and many of them are very good. On the subject of personal preferences, I want to go over how I'll be handling DLC. Persona 5, both Vanilla and Royal, each have a lot of DLC. It's mostly some extra personas, which don't count towards 100% completion by the way, costumes along with music for some of those costumes, and a few bits of extra gameplay content, but nothing too huge. However, in Persona 5 Royal, at least for the English localization, all legacy DLC from the original Persona 5 is free. So how will I be handling the free DLC since there's no reason not to pick it up? I'll be getting it just to show the costumes. I will not be using any of the DLC personas with a few very, very small exceptions. I don't believe this game was balanced around this DLC being free at all, and some of these DLC personas are disgustingly broken for the point in the game you can get them. Persona 5 Royal is already a very easy game, and one that's incredibly easy to break with just what the game gives you naturally, and I'm gonna try and avoid breaking things as much as I can, and a big part of that will be not using the DLC. I will be going over every DLC Persona though, for those who want to get them. And on the subject of this game's difficulty, I'm gonna do something a little differently from my other Persona playthroughs and go over this game's difficulty options now. Because the actual point in the game where you choose your difficulty is integrated into a story, and if I were to go into gameplay explanations at that point, it would be a hugely jarring case of mood whiplash. So, the standard difficulty options are easy, normal, and hard. Normal is the baseline. On easy, you take half damage while also gaining slightly more experience and money, and on hard mode, you take 1.6 times as much damage. Enemies take 20% less damage, but you still receive normal experience and money. This is great for a max Confidant run because money is very important. There are also two outlier modes. Safe is for people who just want to enjoy the story. You take half damage, deal as much damage to enemies as enemies deal to you on hard, and gain 1.5 times as much experience and money. Also, you can freely revive your entire party if you get a game over. And would you believe this difficulty was actually nerfed in Royal? In the vanilla version, this gave an even more ridiculous multiplier to experience and money. However, be very, very careful when choosing safe mode. If you pick it either when starting the game, or change your difficulty to it mid-game, you will not be able to change the difficulty ever again in the playthrough. Merciless was added as free DLC in the vanilla game, but it's included in Royal by default. Merciless is a weird difficulty. It has similar damage multipliers to hard, although you deal even less damage. However, it has a unique feature. Weakness, critical, and technical damage is tripled for both you and enemies. This means that if you know the enemy's weaknesses and are good at exploiting the technical system, which has been heavily buffed in Royal by the way, Merciless is actually easier than hard in a lot of situations. Royal even buffed Merciless to give you an increase in experience and money. It lowered those in the vanilla game. Because of this, I'm going to be playing through this game on hard mode. It's generally agreed to be the actual hardest difficulty, not Merciless. We're almost ready to start, just two final warnings. Persona 5 is a game that deals very heavily with problems facing Japanese society. From my own independent study and my time at university, I will try and give what context on these topics that I can. But remember that I am a white Australian with no Japanese heritage at all, so I don't claim to be an expert on this. If anybody in the comments sections has any greater context on these issues, feel free to disagree with anything that I say. The second thing I want to point out is that, like Persona 3 and 4, this game has an M rating from the ESRB in America. But unlike Persona 3 and 4, this game has that equivalent rating in Australia too. And unlike Persona 3 and 4, I personally think the M rating is justified this time, and it will be very obvious why in the first few hours of the game. So, the content in this game will be a notch above what I normally upload to this channel. Although most of it occurs in cutscenes, gameplay is still fairly tame besides the occasional, well, Mara. But I just thought I'd let you know what you're in for. And now there's nothing else to say, but let us start the game.